My name is Julie Adams, and I serve as the Media and Communications Director at Wainfleet BIC, and I will be your host for the evening. So I want to make a few introductions of our speakers before we begin, and you'll hear a little more about them as we go on. First, I would like to introduce you to Connie Harper. Connie is our parish nurse, and she spearheaded this webinar this evening. Part of her role is serving people holistically, so helping with their spiritual health, physical health, and this webinar was her idea, which is very exciting, and we're glad to see it come to fruition. Next we have Anne Cook. She's our worship director, and she will be speaking as well. We have Linda Lambert, and Linda is a pastoral counselor who will be speaking on mental health. We have Sarah Jane Hobbs. She's a nutritional counselor and will be giving us some advice about that. And last but not least, we have Pastor Trevor Main, who is the pastor of discipleship and care. And he will be speaking on spiritual health as we go along. So first, I would like to turn the floor over to Anne. And Anne is going to explain a bit about our webinar and our goal for tonight. So take it away, Anne.
Thanks, Julie. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the kind of idea of Blue Monday. It's said to be the saddest and most depressing day of the year. And the concept of Blue Monday first originated back in 2005 by Cliff Arnall, who is a tutor at the Center for Lifelong Learning at Cardiff University. And he claimed that he calculated the most depressing day of the year as the third Monday in January, using factors such as weather conditions, debt level, the time passed since Christmas, the time passed since failing our New Year's resolutions, and just general low motivational levels. And the press release that announced this grim information was later revealed to be somewhat of a PR stunt. Arnall was actually working with a travel agency, helping them come up with information that would compel people to book their next vacation. He was quoted in the Independent newspaper in 2018 as saying, "It was never my intention to make this day sound negative, but rather to inspire people to take action and make bold." And in spite of the lack of science behind this calculation that produced Blue Monday, there's definitely some weight to the fact that this time of the year is one of the most difficult and one of the most depressing. And even Bell Canada holds their Bell Let's Talk campaign yearly at this same time, the end of January, to promote mental health awareness. So there is no doubt that mental health issues rise to prominence during these long, dark months following Christmas. And we assume that this will happen even more so this year with COVID lockdowns and isolation taking place once again. So we are hoping that this webinar can help bring awareness to some of the struggles you or people that you may know may be facing, and also provide some help, some resources, some ideas, and some encouragement that there is help out there for you. So we hope that this is an encouragement to you tonight, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching this a few weeks or months down the road.
Thank you, Anne, for that lovely introduction. I had meant to mention at the beginning that this will be recorded and you can view it again afterward or pass this information on to family or friends. We will also be having a question and answer time at the end. So if you have any questions, there's a chat feature at the bottom. You can leave them in the chat and I will get to as many as I can by the end. And so just if they're not answered right away, don't worry, we've saved some time at the end. So next we're going to turn the floor over to Linda Lambert. Linda is a pastoral counselor, currently establishing a marriage and family counseling practice in the Niagara area. Linda is also a registered nurse who's not currently practicing, with extensive experience in psychiatry and psychiatric research. Linda's got a Bachelor of Psychology degree from McMaster University and a Master of Divinity degree from McMaster University Divinity College. Linda has 4 years postgraduate education in pastoral counseling and is currently completing a Doctor of Ministry degree in marriage and family counseling from Denver Seminary in Littleton, Colorado. She's also an ordained minister with the Be in Christ Church of Canada. Linda returned to Canada in April of 2019 after serving at the Meeting House in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, as a pastor of care for 16 years. Prior to that, she pastored in Ontario and counseled in 3 church-based counseling ministries with Hamilton Family Services as an EAP counselor. Linda has 2 wonderful adult children and their spouses and 8 grandchildren, and she adores them all. They all live in Ontario, and she's delighted to be close to them. So Linda, I will turn the floor over to you, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Julie. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar on what has been called Blue Monday, the 3rd Monday in January, as Anne explained. Though Blue Monday is rumored to be the most depressing day of the year, it draws our attention to the fact that there is a winter depression that afflicts millions of people throughout the dreariest part of the year, especially in the northern climates of the United States and Canada. Dr. Ravi Shah, a psychiatrist at Irving Medical Center at Columbia University, said that there is generally more sadness in the wintertime, and in January, it's not uncommon at all for overall more sadness among folks. Dr. Shah added that rather than dial into one specific day, the more interesting question is, what is it about the winter that affects our mood? There are a number of reasons why people generally feel sadder at this time of the year, and we've just come through Christmas, the busiest, most anticipated, and highly social time of the year. We actually spend months and weeks preparing for that one special day, and once it's over, there is a letdown. For some, Christmas may not have been all it could have been, especially this year, because of the coronavirus. Limiting the spread of the virus meant that we couldn't gather with our friends and families the way we used to, or the way we wanted to, or do the activities that bring us joy. And so we've been disappointed. Plus, we still carry with us the fear, the concern, stress, and even depression about the virus that remains in the forefront of our daily lives. While a vaccine against the coronavirus offers hope, many of us may not get the vaccine for months to come. So we still need to be vigilant, stay home, and not mix with others. The change in the seasons has brought cold weather, shorter days, and less sunlight that can bring our mood down, even during normal winters. This is often called winter blues. It's not a mental health disorder, but it can pull you down. Now add in the continuing restrictions because of the pandemic, and this could be a hard winter. However, there is a real winter depression, a clinical depression known as seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, SAD, that is different than winter blues. And those who suffer from SAD may experience more severe symptoms than normal this year. So what is SAD? Well, SAD is a type of depression that people usually get during the fall and winter when there is less sunlight. The symptoms of SAD usually improve as we move into spring. The most challenging months for someone with SAD are January and February. Julie, you might want to present the next slide. Who can have SAD? People with SAD may experience symptoms commonly seen in depression, such as anxiety, fatigue, irritability, low mood, low energy, and feeling hopeless. People with SAD may also feel like sleeping all the time or have trouble getting a good night's sleep. They may be tired all the time, making it hard to carry out daily tasks. They may experience a change in appetite, craving for sugary or starchy foods. They may gain weight. They may feel sad, guilty, and down on themselves. They may also feel hopeless and irritable. They may avoid people, they may feel tense and stressed, they may lose interest in sex or other physical contact, they may lose interest in activities that they used to enjoy. They may also have trouble concentrating and in extreme cases have suicidal thoughts. It's important to talk to your doctor if you find that some of these experiences happen every year and cause a major disruption in your life, but get better during certain seasons. It's important that you don't diagnose yourself without checking with your doctor, because there could be other reasons for the symptoms. And if it is depression, it may not be seasonal affective disorder. Well, who does SAD affect? The Canadian Mental Health Association reported that 2 to 3% of Canadians will experience SAD in their lifetime. Another 15% will develop a milder form of SAD and only be slightly depressed and will be able to live life without major upheaval. SAD is believed to be caused by a lack of sunlight, but there is also evidence that it runs in families, as 13 to 17% of people who develop SAD have an immediate family member with the disorder. About 10% of all depression cases are made up of people with seasonal affective disorder. Julie, will you present slide 2, please? There are some people who are at greater risk for developing SAD. Adults are at higher risk than children and teens. SAD is diagnosed more often in younger adults than in older adults. SAD seems to diminish after the age of 50, and researchers really aren't sure why that happens. Women seem to be more susceptible to SAD. Research found that women may be 9 times more likely than men to be diagnosed with SAD. And having a family history of depression puts you at more risk. People with SAD are more likely to have blood relatives with SAD or another type of depression. Having major depression or bipolar disorder is a risk factor. A person's symptoms of depression may get worse seasonally if you have major depression or bipolar disorder. And people who live farther north or south of the equator are more likely to be diagnosed than those who live closer to the equator. The amount of daylight lessens as you move away from the equator, and light is diminished in winter, and that change is believed to affect SAD. The question is, will COVID-19 make SAD worse? Well, Chad Bouma, a clinical therapist from Waterloo, believes that the pandemic has all of a sudden exponentially increased whatever pre-existing mental health conditions were already there. He said, for people who have been able to manage their mental health for the majority of their lives, the pandemic has, for a lot of individuals, has been the fire starter in a lot of ways. It's expected that it will be much harder for people with SAD this year. Dr. Julian Legoy, a medical doctor, says that people with SAD will be at a higher risk for depression, since the pandemic is making everything more stressful, lonely, and depressing for everyone already. Well, is it possible that more people will be diagnosed with SAD because of the stress that's related to COVID-19 pandemic? Well, probably not. Dr. Sam McHale, a psychologist and director of mental health solutions at Sun Life, says, if you have a high risk of SAD, it's likely you would get it anyway. However, an increase in stress for someone who is susceptible can trigger a mental health issue. So people with SAD may experience a worsening of symptoms related to extra stress. Now, people with anxiety or depression may worry about getting SAD in addition to their mental health condition. It is possible that the COVID restrictions could make their symptoms worse or contribute to another mood disorder like major depressive disorder, but it's unlikely that it would be seasonal affective disorder, according to Dr. McHale. So what are the causes of SAD? Doctors aren't sure what causes SAD, but humans are seasonal beings. Patients often say that they tend to want to sleep and eat more in the winter and have a hard time losing the weight in the summer. Some factors that may contribute to the onset of SAD include our biological clock or circadian rhythm. The reduction of sunlight in the fall and winter may contribute to the onset of winter SAD. This decrease in sunlight may disrupt your body's internal clock and lead to feelings of depression. And then there's decrease in serotonin levels. Serotonin is a chemical or a neurotransmitter in the brain that affects mood. Experts believe that a decrease in serotonin might contribute to the onset of SAD. A decrease in the amount of sunlight can cause the serotonin level to drop off, and that may activate depression. Also, decreased melatonin levels could be a problem. Seasonal change can disrupt the level of melatonin, which affects sleep and mood. So what can be done to improve SAD symptoms? Recognizing the symptoms of SAD is the first step. If you think you have SAD, or if you've been feeling some of the symptoms for 2 weeks or more, talk to your doctor about it. Your doctor can help determine what your symptoms mean and rule out other causes like medical issues or other types of depression, and put together a treatment plan designed for your needs. Though COVID-19 is complicating treatment options, since the strategies we need to take against COVID have put a curb on the recommended treatments for SAD, such as being more social and exercising and going outside, there is hope. There are pandemic-safe ways that can help lift your mood and help you take care of yourself. Julie, can you put up the third slide, please? So one of these things that can help you is to stick to your treatment plan. Follow the recommended treatment plan for you and keep your therapy appointments. You might also consider light therapy. Light therapy or phototherapy has been shown to be helpful for people with SAD. A person sits near a special lamp for about 30 minutes in the morning within the first hour of waking up each day. The artificial light that replicates outdoor light causes chemical changes in the brain that help to lift a person's mood and relieve the symptoms of SAD. It usually starts working within a few days to a few weeks. Consult your doctor before starting light therapy because there can be side effects. But 60 to 80% of people with SAD find relief from this therapy. Medications such as antidepressants can be beneficial for people with SAD, especially when symptoms are severe. Your doctor may recommend that you start taking an antidepressant before your symptoms usually begin each year. And your doctor may also request that you stay on the medication past the time when your symptoms would normally end. Work with your doctor to find the most effective treatment for you. You could also talk to your doctor about SAD and vitamin D. Vitamin D is created in our bodies when sunlight hits our skin. Many people in northern climates have a vitamin D deficiency due to reduced sunlight in the winter and being indoors so much. A low level of vitamin D has been linked to fatigue and mood changes. Your doctor may want to check your vitamin D level and suggest supplements if needed. Consider seeing a therapist. Virtual sessions using Zoom and other applications are connecting therapists with clients these days. A counseling approach using CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, can be effective for people with SAD. The counselor using this modality will coach you to alter the negative thoughts and actions that impact your depression. The therapist may help you learn effective ways to cope with SAD and how to manage stress. CBT may be used along with light therapy and/or medication. Self-care, such as regular exercise, a healthy diet, good sleep habits, connecting with others, and managing stress can help lift depression in the case of mild symptoms. And self-care activities along with other therapies can also be helpful for moderate and severe depression. You might want to practice stress management. Learn how to manage your stress because unmanaged stress can contribute to depression, overeating, and unhelpful thoughts and actions. And then try to get outside every day. This is a natural form of light therapy. Being outdoors and exposed to sunlight is a mood lifter and helpful for depression. If you're working from home, take a break by going outside. Even a 20-minute walk can make a difference. And then exercise regularly. Incorporate physical activity into your schedule. Optimally, before you experience sad symptoms. Physical activities relieve stress, build energy, and increases your physical and mental well-being, and builds resilience. Try to get 30 minutes of some form of exercise every day. Stay socially connected. Connecting with friends and family in safe ways is very important for people dealing with seasonal depression during COVID-19. Having social supports helps with mood. And it's known that loneliness makes anxiety and depression worse. The Canadian Mental Health Association acknowledges that there are many alternative therapies for depression. However, there is less evidence to tell us that these actually work. Some people find that some herbal remedies help with mild symptoms of SAD, but these remedies can have side effects and may interfere with other medications. So consult with your healthcare provider about the benefits and risks of herbal and alternative treatments. It's best to keep your healthcare provider informed of all the treatments that you are using. Julie, will you present slide 4, please? Finally, here are some tips to ease winter SAD symptoms. As we've been talking, spend a lot more time outdoors during the day. You might want to brighten up your home or your workspace. So keep your curtains open in the daytime, arrange the spaces that you spend your time in to increase exposure to daylight. If trees in front of your property are a problem, trim tree branches to increase light that can get into your home. Move furniture you sit in or exercise equipment close to a window. Install skylights and lamps. Get physically active. Try to take a daily walk at noon, for example, and try to avoid the cravings for carbohydrates and sleep. If possible, take a winter vacation in a sunny, warm location. Now, I know that may not be possible this year, but keep it in the back of your mind as something that you might want to do in the coming years. Limit the amount of news you consume. Adding stressful news to your struggle with the change of season can make your depression worse. News these days can trigger anxiety and stress, which can affect your mood. Give your mind a break from negativity. So with the right treatment and self-care steps, SAD is manageable. Talk to your doctor about any symptoms or make an appointment with a mental health provider. We will have a list of resources available on the church website at wainfleetbic.info under the Mental Health Resources tab for you to access after the webinar. Julie, can you put up slide 5, please? If you need help with mental health or addiction, call the Access line. And that number is on your screen. It's 1-866-550-5205. And then you can also search online for mental well-being, Niagara region. Well, I hope that you found this information helpful, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Linda. That was excellent, and we really enjoyed that and appreciate your contribution. So next we will hear from Ann Cook. Ann Cook is our worship director, and she is going to be sharing on something called Hygge. Ann, as our worship director, often sets the stage at church for worship. So she is really great at creating a mood, and one of her gifts is hospitality. And so she is really, this is a passion of hers, and she's going to share some valuable information on how you can create a nice mood at home. So take it away, Ann.
All right, well, we have recently come out of Christmas, and if you have ever baked fresh gingerbread with your family and then cozied up in front of your Christmas tree to do a puzzle while listening to Christmas music and sipping on some hot chocolate, and maybe you've had this warm, cozy feeling like really deep in your soul, you may have experienced Hygge. So Hygge is the Danish art of coziness. And while it originally comes from a Norwegian word for well-being, it now embodies traditional Danish culture. And just as the US might be associated directly with freedom, that kind of might be a key word for that country, Denmark is directly associated with hygge. And while it is practiced throughout the entire year, hygge has become definitely a survival strategy for the Danish people during their long and cold and dark winters. And they have some of the longest and darkest winters in the world. But surprisingly, Danish people are actually known as some of the happiest people in the world. Connie Harper, our parish nurse, was the person who first introduced me to hygge maybe 2 years ago now. And I am a big summer person. I am a summer lover. I love hot weather. I love the beach. I love my windows being open. I love lots of daylight. And so I can have a really bad attitude when it comes to winter sometimes. And so for me, hygge has become a perspective, a positive lens for me as a summer lover to really look at winter through. And hygge is about finding specific things in winter that I might not be able to do in the summer and focusing on these positive things and enjoying them and embracing them. So hygge is really a mindset. So Julie and I have put together a little video that will give you a little glimpse into what hygge is, and we hope that through watching this you get a sense of what it feels like and looks like as we kind of explore some of the different categories that make up hygge, including ambiance, lighting, presence, cuisine, even clothing, leisure, and nature. These are all categories that make up hygge. So this is just a brief little video, and if you want to explore this concept more, there will be some resources emailed out to you afterwards. So yeah, we hope you enjoy.
Hygge, embracing the art of coziness. It's about awakening your senses to the things around you. Turn on some music, cozy jazz or soft classical music. Create an atmosphere. If you have a fireplace, get a nice warm fire going. Embrace warm and woodsy scents with your diffuser, a scented candle, or even simmering some herbs on your stove. Try spices like cinnamon, clove, cardamom, and nutmeg, or evergreen scents like fir, spruce, and rosemary. Be intentional about your lighting. Use soft, warm lighting from candles, lamps, Christmas lights, and other string lights. Turn off any harsh or overly bright overhead lights. Hot drinks, rich soups, and hearty stews are all things that make us feel warm, cozy, and satisfied in a way they don't in the summer. Using things like root vegetables in our soups and stews and eating seasonally can also aid our bodies physically in keeping warm. Light some candles and eat a meal with your family. Enjoy conversation around the table. Have fun cooking or baking something new. Work with your hands. Involve your family members in the process. Indulge in that sweet treat. Hygge is about savoring the simple pleasures. Get cozy. Put on a pair of extra fuzzy socks. Wrap yourself in a thick sweater or poncho, or curl up under a chunky blanket. Notice how the textures feel. Be intentional about how you spend your time. Read a book. Notice the feeling and smell of the pages. Try journaling, drawing, or painting. Turn off your screens and get out some board games. Spend time with your family members. Connect with each other. Do something as simple and familiar as a puzzle. Or learn a new hobby, like knitting or crocheting. Embrace nature. Sit in some natural daylight if you can. Bring some plants, or even something as simple as some pine cones and greenery to your indoor space. Fresh flowers can always brighten up a room. Playing rain or other nature sounds inside can also help you feel more connected to nature. Make sure you balance your cozy indoor activities with some outdoor winter activities as well, such as sledding, skating, or hiking. Hygge. It doesn't require much. A certain slowness, an ability to not just be present, but to recognize and enjoy the present. By creating simple rituals without much effort, your domestic life can become an art form. Hygge. Create and enjoy the good moments.
Thank you, Anne. I know I felt cozy just even watching that, so that was wonderful. Next, we will hear from Sarah Jane Hobbs. Sarah Jane is a graduate of Edison Institute of Nutrition. She has a diploma of holistic nutrition and continues to add daily to her understanding and wonder of the human body and its ability to restore and heal. It is her joy and calling to see others enjoy better health and well-being, walking with them on the path to better health as a nutritional consultant. She lives in Welland with her husband and 5 children whom she has homeschooled for the last 16 years and is active in her community, serving in various ways in spite of the times in which we live. She works at Christian Horizons as well, supporting those with special needs. She is working hard to educate, inform, and empower so that others can enjoy the life that God has given to them in the time we have here in this world. So I will turn the floor over to you, Sarah. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And
thank you. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone. Wow, after that video, Anne, I'm like, I just feel like kind of just curling up on the couch behind me and just having a snooze. But no, I have to stay focused. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys so that you can see my presentation in a second here. I think it's so fantastic to be a part of something, as Anne said, just on Blue Monday, to really get ahead of this time of year. And so thank you, Linda, for all the things that you shared. That was incredible. And I made some notes for myself, and I hope that what I have to share will be a help as well. I think it's neat that they're addressing tonight mind, body, and soul. So we've focused on the mind a little bit more with Linda. Now I'm going to talk to you about nutrition and how eating healthy can make a difference for you for your mental health. And then Pastor Trevor's going to talk about your spiritual health. So I think it all intertwines so closely. And so I always want to, it's really hard to just talk about nutrition because there's so many other things that come into play. And I'm sure other people feel the same way. So, and it did come up a little bit with Linda too. So that's fantastic. So Yeah, this is a really big subject, nutrition for the mind. And I'm just going to kind of scrape the surface tonight and give you a little bit of maybe a few things that you can go home with, or, you know, you are home, but you can apply to your lives at home. And don't feel overwhelmed. You can come back to it. Just, you know, choose one or two things that, hey, maybe that's something that I could apply today, and then get that into a habit, you know, 21 days normally. And then you can start adding in, continue to add in as you learn more. And as I learn more, I continue to do the same thing. This is a really tough season, as has already been stated. And there's so many things that we can't control, but there are some things that we can control. There are some things that we can do. And so we're just going to really try to work on that, focus on those things. So what you eat does actually matter. Your mom was right. You know, you are what you eat. I don't know. My mother said that kind of thing to me all the time. What you drink even matters. You are what you eat. You can make a difference in your body with the choices that you make. And that's exciting. It may not be right away. It might not be really fast, but gradually you are going to see changes. Again, as Linda said, medications have their place, they have their role. So make sure anything that I'm talking about today too, please talk to your doctor about this, talk to your healthcare professional about this. If you have a naturopath or another nutritional consultant, always be you know, checking in on all that kind of thing. Medications are, was just explained to me actually by a doctor this week. Medications are wonderful as kind of like a crutch, and as a or as a cast would be in your, with a broken arm. But long term, the goal is to not have to be on medications too long, especially for mood. The goal is through therapy and through good nutrition, healthy nutrition, to be able to, with the help of a healthcare provider, to be able to let your body heal and let your body do what it needs to do. So we're going to talk a lot about that tonight, and have some fun. So sorry, just need to get to my next slide. How do I do that? Why is it not working? Shoot. Sorry, guys. Oh, that's what happened. Okay, here we go. So the brain. Okay, I am not going to cover everything the brain does. The brain is amazing, and we are fearfully and wonderfully made, like the last slide talked about. Suffice to say that your brain is working at an enormous rate at every moment of every day so that you can function. And in order to send messages to various networks and nerves, it needs nutrients in your brain. Mostly it needs amino acids, which are from proteins. It also needs essential fats, which we'll talk about as well. And it also needs vitamins and minerals to function well. If you're deficient in any of these things, your brain won't work correctly. To understand this better, this topic better, I did, I'll talk about it at the end, but there's a book called New Optimum Nutrition for the Mind. This book is full of so many it's an easy read. He has lots of studies and things that he discusses, and he goes into a lot more explanation. Serotonin, for example, is a neurotransmitter that makes you happy. And it's made from an amino acid, tryptophan, which we get from foods. Adrenaline and dopamine are the hormones that help to keep you motivated. That's made from another amino acid called phenylalanine. So that is all happening in your body. We need enzymes, we need all kinds of vitamins and minerals. And at the same time, our digestive system has 100 million neurons. So just like the brain, we think the brain does have 100 billion, but the digestive system has a lot. And so that is actually where 2/3 of your serotonin is produced. And so the gut and the brain are in constant connection and communication all the time. So that's that gut brain connection with what we feel, what we eat, can make a big difference in how we're feeling, whether we're feeling anxious or depressed, not just because of the gut, but a lot has to do with that as well. And I'll quickly mention methylation as well. It's the most important process of the brain and body, where it repairs and balances hormones, neurotransmitters, other essential biochemicals. And every single second, 1 billion methylation reactions happen every single second in your body. So your ability of methylation is a critical factor in determining your mental health and your ability to deal with stress. So this is something you can actually measure with a doctor. You can get your homocysteine levels checked. They should be not any higher than 10. And if they are, then you know that you are not getting the nutrients that you need to have for methylation, which are B12, folic acid, and B6. So that's just an example of what things that we need when we're looking at our brain. So let's look more at some of the basics. Good fats, proteins, good carbs, water, exercise, and sleep. It's kind of easy. There's not a lot that you need to do, but we're going to get into this a little bit deeper here. So this is kind of where I'm headed tonight in this little time that we have together. So your fat, 60% of the dry weight of your brain is fat. So fats are critical for your brain. They're critical for membrane fluidity, which the neurotransmitters need for the synthesis uptake of serotonin, which again, you need serotonin as your happy amino acid. Receptor sites are contained within the myelin sheath. That's over here in the, as you look at the neuron, those yellow parts there. So that's like a layer of insulation around an electrical wire. 75% of that is fat. So our bodies can't make their own fat. We have to consume fat. Fat is good. I mean, good kinds of fats, and we're going to talk about that. Omega-3s and omega-6s are the main ones that we need to get, unless unless you're actually working at getting them into your body, into your diet, you're probably not getting enough. So the fats that you want to be focusing on are cold water, oily fish twice a week, ideally 100 grams. It's just like a little, like your palm. Herring, mackerel, wild salmon. Fish has become a difficult thing, to be honest, to acquire these days that is not filled with mercury and things. So I have included in the notes that you'll get emailed to you a list of some sources for some good lists of good sources of meat, of fish. Eggs as well, lecithin. I'm not going into the lecithin as much, but that's an excellent thing for your brain. It can be, you can buy it loose and you can just sprinkle it onto your food in the morning, like for your breakfast or whatever. The cold pressed oils that I've listed here as well. Supplementing evening primrose oil, 100 milligrams a day, or double it if you're low, if you're having trouble, if you're struggling. Fish oil, again, same thing, double if you are low. At the same time as trying to supplement and take in as many fats as you can, good fats, you want to eliminate trans fats. So the problem with trans fats is that they will take the place in your neurotransmitters as fat, and then the good fat comes in, and then the good fat has nowhere to go because the bad fats are there already. And so then things are misfiring and not working correctly. So we really want to protect ourselves from that. We also, meat, just not a lot of meat. It's not, I'm not, some people are vegan and vegetarian. We're going to talk about some options for them. Meat a few times a week, but we don't need it. We don't need it with each meal. Sugar, we're going to talk more about that later on. Alcohol, we'll talk more about that too. Stress, that's easier said than done these days. But again, these amazing ideas that Linda and Anne have already presented to you you're already on the right track there with less news and all that kind of thing. Eliminate smoking and obesity as well, because those mess up your brain functions, and the fats, to displace the fats. So a simple way to add some good fats into your diet is to take 1 part, so in a jar, 1 part sesame seeds, 1 part sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and 3 parts flax seeds, or chia is fine too. Mix them up in your fridge. They're easy to grab. Every morning, take out a tablespoon and put them in a coffee grinder. Hopefully one that hasn't had coffee in it, but that's okay if you don't mind it. And grind that up so it's fresh. So the thing with seeds, these small seeds, is that they're very volatile, so they will go rancid very quickly. So you want to keep them in a fridge or in a freezer, because they will turn. If you're buying like a flaxseed that's already ground, it's probably already turned, I'm sorry to say. It's much better to grind your own, and that's going to give you some good fats. They are wonderful sources of fiber as well when you don't grind them. But if you don't grind them, you won't get the oils out of them. So that's why we're grinding them, and we're grinding them fresh so that they're optimum for your body. I'm going to mention caffeine because it is a factor for a lot of people, not for everybody, but it can be a factor. So people who tend to feel depressed or anxious are often sensitive to caffeine, and so they should be eliminating caffeine. There was a study that I read about university students that they studied, and the more caffeine that they consumed, the higher their rate of depression and their lower academic performance as well. There's lots of other studies as well that support that. Caffeine flushes out minerals and exhausts the adrenal glands. So it gives you a, so a lot of people will take it as to help them to eliminate quicker. But what that means is that you're not absorbing the nutrients from your food, and you're expelling all that faster, and before your body's really getting the optimal use of the foods that you've just consumed. And then a combination of caffeine and refined sugars enhances depression moods, they have found as well. And so that brings us into carbs. Refined and simple carbs, they're the bad ones. So basically the sweetness has been kind of isolated out of those. And so all the goodness, like if you think of a kernel of wheat, and we take out the brown stuff and we make sure it's just white. So it's really just sugar. I mean, there is some goodness, but very little goodness in a refined flour or refined sugar. And that means the glycemic load becomes really high for our bodies, and it triggers a rapid increase in your blood sugar levels, which you do not want. The body, when you get sugar, when sugar is getting absorbed in your body, the body releases insulin, and then insulin ushers sugar to your cells so that you can use up that energy. But there's often a lot of an excess of sugar, and so the excess of sugar is put into your liver, your muscles, and then of course becoming fat. And so that is a problem. We want to keep our liver strong and healthy. We don't want to give it extra things to have to deal with and have to process. A critical result of too much sugar is that it increases adrenaline, which is our stress hormone. And we actually need adrenaline for our stressful situations when there is a stressful situation. But sugar will give us that false increase in adrenaline into the bloodstream, which basically results in difficulty concentrating, irritability, and anxiety. So those are all things that we are trying to avoid. And also there's also often a surge in energy after consuming refined carbohydrates. And that's partly why we want them. We're craving them. And but then there's a drop, there's a downer after, as the body scrambles to balance itself. Another reason why we crave sugars is because we're wanting minerals. A lot of them are trace minerals that are in the original form of that carbohydrate, but we're eating a refined one, and so we're not getting it. And so we go for it, we try it, we eat it, we feel satisfied for a moment, and then we don't, because we still need those minerals, and then the cycle just continues. So you want slow releasing carbs. And I'm going to show you what that kind of means with lots of fiber. The fiber is what helps slow it down. So those are going to be whole grains like rice, buckwheat, millet, all those lists there. Lentils, beans, nuts and seeds, which we've already talked about. So those are good carbs to consume. You want at least 5 fruits and vegetables every day. Green leafy vegetables are amazing, and root vegetables, as we had in our Hygge conversation video that talked about root vegetables. I don't know if anyone caught that, but that is critical. Eating root vegetables in the winter as Canadians, we need to do that. It helps to warm us, actually, and helps our metabolism, and it helps our mood as well. If you do need to have fruit juices, do dilute them. Avoid processed foods, because that's where you're going to get lots of those carbs. And eating a good breakfast every day. Our mom was right about that too, as it turns out, eating a good breakfast. And we'll talk more about that in a little second here. So some ways to combine things so that you're having some slow release carbs is to take some, if you're going to have fruit, have some nuts and seeds. So like I had a banana today, and I had some almond butter with it to help to slow down the, because a banana is quite high in glycemic index. Seeds and nuts can be added to your cereal, like the jar in the fridge that we talked about a few minutes ago for the oil. It's a perfect way to get some more slow release carbs. Salmon, chicken, tofu with brown rice, a great combination. Kidney beans added to sauces with a whole grain pasta. It's amazing. I love my immersion blender. You can hide anything in there, and a can of kidney beans or a can of black beans or something is really a great addition. Actually, we actually prefer it that way when we have spaghetti. Hummus on rye bread, another idea. So hypoglycemia is a massive problem in North America. I don't know if everyone's aware of that, but hypoglycemia and depression are very closely connected, are often connected. Blood sugar levels need to be stabilized. Depression, anxiety, mental disturbances, fatigue, that's all connected to hypoglycemia. And many Canadians are pre-diabetic. And so we need to do something about that. And one thing, massive thing, is to kick the sugar. Unfortunately, the best way to kick sugar is to go cold turkey. I know our video had that nice chocolate brownie. It looks so good. But yeah, if you're really trying or wanting to really look at your moods and your ups and your downs, you're going to want to kick sugar, at least for a little while. And for all of us, it's hard. And so this is just a little quick, easy thing to start. Start the day with a high protein breakfast, and then a protein and fat at every single meal thereafter. You really need to, I always tell clients to think about your plate. Half your plate should be vegetables, and hopefully like green leafy vegetables, or, some starchy vegetables is fine in the winter, especially. And a quarter of it is going to be your protein, and another, I kind of got mixed up with that. But anyway, half your plate of vegetables, your protein, and you want fat. So you want to, I'll drizzle some oil, coconut oil or olive oil. Avocado oil is wonderful over top of the meal. It helps to just sustain you. You want to be able to get those blood sugar levels so that they're not peaking up and falling down. You want to be stable. So enough protein, enough fat at every meal, and fiber as well. Your fiber is going to come from your vegetables, ideally. Increasing your intake of healthy carbs and veggies, of course. High fiber foods like almonds, chia seeds, avocados, berries, all of those things prevent blood sugar spikes. And you will find, like, I notice when I'm using my mind a lot, like just preparing for tonight, I was hungry. Like you burn a lot. Like you need food, you need fuel. So having a bowl of almonds beside you, ideally raw almonds. If you want to roast them yourself, that's ideal, but And it's just going to help to fuel you as well as kind of stabilize those ups and downs. Staying hydrated with lots of water is also very critical. Yeah, and exercise. So now we're going to talk quickly about exercise. I'm sorry, I think I've gone too long. So exercise, thank you, Linda, for talking about that as well. Most powerful antidepressant available. It's as effective. This is in some of the studies that I read about. And again, most of it comes from this book, so you can check my references there. It's even more, more effective than antidepressants. Increases levels of endorphins. They've compared groups of people that are active and people that aren't. And the people that are active, of course, are less stressed, have lower levels of cortisol and higher levels of beta endorphins, which we want. So as Linda's already said, get out there and get exercising. There's other issues that could be a factor for your moods up and down. And so you can look at these with later on. If you want to ask me more about it, I'm more than happy to talk and help. Sleep is critical. Thyroid, the first symptom of low thyroid is depression. And so the thyroid deals with the temperature of the body. And so once the temperature is off, everything goes off in your body. Hormones, that's a big part, and adrenals, for me, that's very closely connected. If your adrenals are strong, ladies, you will go through perimenopause very smoothly, much smoother than most of your other North American friends. Gut health is critical. Food allergies is a big factor too. These are just a few of the supplements that I love, and you can talk to me more about them. Juice Plus is a fantastic company with it's a whole food supplement and multivitamin that gives us extra adrenal support, and fish oils. And then these other two, the SAMI and the 5-HTP, are really helpful too in some cases. Yeah. Also, Vox Life, I will mention very quickly that they provide drug-free, non-invasive neural health. Like if you know anyone who is in the area that is talking about it, it's pretty amazing stuff. There's an amazing YouTube video by a group of people about Abram Hoffer, who was a psychiatrist out in central Canada back in the 50s and 60s, and he had an amazing success with helping people with mental illnesses. And yeah, that's the list. So that's it. Take what you like, and there are lots of possibilities when you start to make just a few changes all the time. And there we go. I have to find you guys so I can stop sharing. There we go. Stop sharing. Sorry. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was wonderful. We really enjoyed that, and looking forward to the follow-up with that as well. Next, we will hear from Reverend Trevor Main. Trevor currently serves as the pastor of discipleship and pastoral care at Wainfleet BIC Church. Trevor has experience as a pastor in 2 Canadian churches, as well as experience as a missionary service in Latin America. He has been married for 30 years and is a father of 2 and a grandfather of 1. Trevor's own journey of life and faith through depression adds perspective to his ministry. I apologize for that, but welcome, Trevor. Thank you, and take it away.
Well, this is great to be able to be a part of this evening with all of you and with each of the other presenters. It's great that you've joined us. I just wanted to ask a little question as we continue in this last little section I want to share with you, and have you think about what are some of the heavy things that you have actually carried before. What comes to your mind? Maybe you remember carrying a big piece of furniture, perhaps trying to carry the oven out of the kitchen, or a refrigerator, or a sofa bed. Maybe some of you can remember carrying some heavy boxes of books or some big pieces of equipment. I imagine that the heavy things that you think of, or the things that come to mind, are things that you can actually see. They're visible things. Typically, the heavy things that we know are big things. There are things that are visible. Nevertheless, one of the heaviest things to carry is actually something that is invisible. And you might wonder, well, how can something that is invisible be heavy? Well, think about sadness, disappointment, and grief. How do we describe those feelings? Well, besides saying that we're feeling blue, we sometimes say that we're feeling down, or that the weight of the world is on our shoulders. We might say that we have heavy hearts. If we could measure the feeling of sadness in kilograms, I think we would be surprised how much it sometimes weighs. It can be a huge burden for people to bear. So knowing this, I want to give you two practical things that you can do that can help to lighten your load. And I'm going to share my screen to walk us through this. Speak up and speak out. And when I say speak up, I am suggesting that you talk to God. And when I say speak out, I'm suggesting that you talk to others, and especially people who believe in God. So first, speak up. Talk to God because you can and because it helps to lift your burden. Jesus extends that invitation to all of us, and it's found written in the Bible in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. Jesus saying these words, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." God invites us to come to him with our weariness and our burdens, and we can do that through prayer. The great thing about speaking up to God and talking with him is that we can do it anytime, at any place, and there's no appointment necessary. And God is uniquely able to help us. God has created you, he sees you, he knows you, he loves you. I mean, who can understand your heart and your feelings better than God? It was God who created the seat of your emotions, that space within you that gives such flavor and color to your life with all of its ups and downs. There is no one more capable than God who can help us in that inner place where we experience all of the emotions. I mean, the ones that we enjoy most, but also the feelings of gloom and gray, fear, sadness, and grief. What might you say when you speak up to God? What might you say when you pray? I mean, you could express your sadness to him. You can tell him how you feel and tell him how you would like to feel. And you can ask God to help you, to lift your burden, to encourage your heart, and to give you rest. Talking to God is actually a healthy exercise of faith. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. You can talk to God out loud. You can pray silently with your thoughts, or you might even choose to write out your prayer. God gets the message in any form, and he's uniquely able to help you. Now, if you really feel stuck when it comes to prayer and you're not sure where to start and you don't know how to do it, I would encourage you to simply read the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples to pray. Commonly known as the Lord's Prayer, you can read it as your prayer. And as a practical exercise, I'd like to invite you to pray that prayer even with me now. I'm sharing the words on the screen, and it's a prayer that you can look up and pray anytime you like. But if you're comfortable, even in our time together tonight, you could pray this with me out loud. I think all of the microphones are pretty much all off except for mine, so we won't hear you, but God will hear you. And it's an opportunity for you to speak up and to pray to God. And so I invite you where you are. You can pray this out loud, or you can just listen along and pray it in your heart. It's an example of speaking up to God, praying to him. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. So remember, if you're burdened by sadness, if you are weighed down by the cares of the world, to get help, speak up. That is, talk to God. Now, you don't literally need to speak looking up toward the heavens in order to talk to God, but that's the idea, is speaking up is to express what's on your heart to God, to pray with him, to pray to him. Now, a second practical thing that you can do to help lighten your burden when you're feeling blue is to speak out. That is, to talk to people, to other people. You might be tempted to fake that you're fine all of the time, but that never helps. Help is found when you speak out and express what's going on inside. It may be as simple as saying, I'm sad, I'm out of sorts, I'm feeling blue, I feel down, I feel discouraged, I'm in a bit of a funk. Share that with someone else, and you just might find that the saying is true. A burden shared is a burden halved. And I believe that's especially true when we speak out and share our burdens with people who believe in God and who love him and serve him. Now, why is that? Well, it's good for you to know that God's plan to help us in life includes using his followers to do that. He has given all of those who trust him and follow him special gifts, abilities, and experiences, which he can use to assist other people. If someone is willing to speak out and share the burden that is on their hearts, other Christians are uniquely prepared by God to help them. The Bible explains how God has designed the Christian community to function like this. And in Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, the Bible tells us to carry each other's burdens, saying that in this way we fulfill the law of Christ. And in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, it says, Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion, and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. So at this point, I'd like to share a few thoughts, particularly with our Christian community, with those of you who are watching who are Christians, because God has an important role for you to fulfill in helping to carry the burdens of others. Your experience of being comforted by God in the past will serve you well to comfort others now and in the future. Having said that, when someone comes to you and tells you their burden, don't just take that as an opportunity to launch into a long, sad story of your own. Let your own experience of suffering, grief, and sadness from the past heighten your compassion to care for others in the present. There may be some times when it's appropriate to share a little of your experience with others, but people who are sad and who speak to you about their burdens won't be helped as much if you just take over the conversation and talk about yourself. If you do have the opportunity to talk to someone who's feeling blue, listen to them and encourage them to share what's on their hearts, and be willing to do that on more than one occasion, on different days. When you talk to them, you might ask, well, what's your day been like? Has there been anything that has brightened your day a bit? Is there anything that's brought you down? What's been on your mind? You could say, I want to share with you a couple of things that I appreciate about you, or I'd like to share a good memory with you. You could ask, would it be okay if I shared a Bible verse with you? And if they say yes, you could look in your Bible and find good Bible verses that would be encouraging, or you could share this one as an example that comes from Lamentations chapter 3, verse 22 in the Bible, where it says, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Maybe sharing a verse like that, you could comment on God's love, on his compassion, or just how that particular verse has been helpful to you. Then perhaps the most important thing that you can do is offer to pray for them. If they agree that you can pray for them, you can do it then and there, or if you're talking on the telephone, you can pray for them over the telephone. I have to believe that there are a good number of people who have joined in this Blue Monday presentation who are actually feeling blue tonight. For some of you, joining this webinar has been a way for you to speak out and to say that you are feeling burdened and sad. And good for you. It's great that you're here. I wonder if I could pray for you. In fact, I would really like to be able to do that. I don't want to let this opportunity pass without extending help to you by praying for you. And so I'd like to invite all of you just to quiet yourselves where you are as I take this time for a prayer on your behalf. Let's pray. Loving Heavenly Father, I thank you for the great privilege that we have to come to you in prayer. You know the hearts of every person who is here better than anyone else. You know their silent cries and the tears that they have spilled. You know the weight of the burdens that they are carrying, the sadness, the loneliness, the anxiety, and the grief. I bring them before you in prayer, asking you to respond to their needs, to lift their burdens, and to restore their hope. Please bring courage into the life of the person who is fearful. Give hope to the one who's feeling hopeless. Bring light into the darkness that's being experienced at this time. Please calm the anxious soul. Guard each person's heart and mind with your love and truth. Reassure each one of them with your infinite love. Sustain them in this challenging time, and please provide for all of their needs, for the needs of their hearts and souls, minds and bodies. I pray in Jesus' name, amen. Prayer is mysterious and it's wonderful and makes a big difference. And it is a very big part of speaking up and speaking out. Sadness and depression will frequently pull us away from God and from others. I think it often turns us inward on ourselves in unhelpful ways. Sadness can take us captive and make us think that the world is better off without us and that really no one really wants to hear our troubles anyhow. Please do not let sadness cut you off from those who can help. In addition to all of the valuable things that the other presenters shared, I'm giving you two simple suggestions. Speak up and speak out. Speak up in prayer, praying to God, asking for help, and speak out, sharing the burden that's on your heart with other people, particularly with those who believe in God, since God will use them to help you in ways that other people can't, including praying for you. And as you share your burden with God and others, God can work in wonderful ways to lighten your load. So when you're feeling blue and when your heart is heavy, I simply encourage you to speak up and to speak out.
Thank you very much, Pastor Trevor. That was a great word and a good challenge for us to remember going forward. So we'll move on to the question and answer time. We've had a couple of questions come in. So if you did have something else you wanted to ask, please feel free to leave it in the chat and we will get to as many as we can. So the first question is for Linda. And Linda, the question is it known why women are more likely to be diagnosed with SAD or seasonal affective disorder? And could hormones be what's playing a part? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
There we go. That's really a good question. I don't have the answer for that, but I certainly would want to do some research on that to find out, because I was curious myself why that was the case. I think it's possible that hormones would play a part, but the other part of that too is that women are often more let me put it the other way. Men are less likely to talk about their emotions and that kind of thing. So it's harder for them to do that. And so in seeking help, women are probably more prone to make themselves be seen by a doctor or talk to someone about their mental health. And but I would like to do some research on that, and then perhaps have an answer for you that we could post someplace.
Thank you very much, Linda. And our next question is for Sarah. Sarah, you mentioned that sugar cravings are actually mineral cravings in disguise. And what are some good foods we can go to when we are having a sugar craving?
Good question. Thanks. That was Anne, I think, that asked that. Yeah, so there's kind of twofold. So as far as just answering that question, avocado is incredibly satisfying. So that's something I enjoy when they're in season. I don't find them all the time. I can't remember when the season is. I feel like it was like around Christmas. We were having really good luck with avocados. Now I'm nervous. I'm like, I don't know if it's still the right time. Anyway, I just squeezed some lemon over top and some salt and pepper, and that's really good. For kids, it's nice to have, a lot of times when the kids were little, I would do unsweetened applesauce with some ground flax seeds sprinkled over top and some cinnamon. That was a great snack, very popular. Again, maybe like a piece of toast, like a rye toast or Ezekiel bread kind of toast with some nut butter. Try to think about your proteins, right? Try to think about your seeds and your, and your fats and get those in. Yeah, and it depends. So sometimes it's a crunchy thing that people want, right? It's not so much the salt, it's not so much the sugar, it's the salty, and then you can make kale chips or things like that. The other part of that is too, when we get satisfied on a cellular level with the minerals and the nutrients that we're craving, we don't crave as much. So a good multi, like I talked about at the end, the Juice Plus or the Plus multi, or another one from another practitioner, is a really good baseline, and then you're not going to need it as much. Juice Plus is the most researched product out there, and they find that children who take it they don't want junk food as much as they did when they before they were taking it. So that's just something to think about. Anyway, there you go.
Thank you very much, Sarah. That was wonderful. So it looks like our evening is coming to a close, and we will be sending out a resource list and some material from each of our presenters tonight in an email in the coming days. And as I mentioned, this webinar has been recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel sometime later this week, and we'll send that link as well in case you'd like to pass this webinar on to a friend or family member, or there's a part you'd like to rewatch to gain better understanding. So as we close, I will pass the floor back over to Pastor Trevor for one final word.
Yeah, just before you go, on behalf of our church and as one of the pastors of our church, I just want to leave a final blessing from God, from the Bible for you, which sort of encapsulates our wish for you. And it is this: May God bless you. May the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face to you and give you peace. Thank you all for coming. It's great to have had you here.